Now, a major shift in the global economy is happening in Asia. It's new data which shows that ASEAN+3, that China, Japan, South Korea, and the 10 Southeast Asian nations, they have overtaken the United States as the world's largest market by final demand. That essentially means that the region is no longer just the world's factory floor. It is now where more of the world's goods are actually being consumed. By the year 2022, ASEAN+3 accounted for 28% of global final demand, compared to 26% for the United States. This measure looks at where goods are ultimately consumed and not just where they cross borders, and that shows a fundamental shift in global demand at large. Just 2 decades ago, nearly one-third of ASEAN+3 exports serving final demand went to the US. However, today that share has dropped to 20%. Meanwhile, intra-regional demand has also climbed to nearly 30%, which means that Asia is increasingly producing for itself. At the center of this transformation is China, with the country that is now the world's largest auto market, accounting for almost one-third of global vehicle sales, more than the US and the European Union combined. It also leads in electric vehicle adoption, reshaping supply chains from batteries to semiconductors. In fact, in smartphone space, China accounts for more than 20% of global users, which is roughly 4 times the US share. Nearly half of ASEAN+3's electronics intermediate exports now flow to China, which feeds into products ultimately bought by Chinese consumers. But this is not one-way dependence. Japan and South Korea supply high-tech inputs, which includes advanced chips and precision components. ASEAN contributes manufacturing and even assembly capacity. China provides scale, increasingly sophisticated production and massive domestic demand, while ASEAN itself, with nearly 700 million consumers, is emerging as one of the fastest growing demand bases across the globe and is now a major destination for exports from China, Japan, and even South Korea. The implications are significant. Scenario analysis shows slowdown in Chinese domestic demand, which now impacts the rest of ASEAN+3 5 more times than it did 2 decades ago. At the same time, the region's sensitivity to US demand shock has declined. This does not mean immunity from US tariffs or global trade tensions, but it does signal greater regional resilience.